investors who successfully scale, in your opinion and in your experience, from those who just kind of stay stuck?
That's where I do think sometimes the market can play a role, right? We are in a softer market right now, at least here in our region. I can only speak obviously to our region, and price point makes a difference, right? So what people don't recognize sometimes is it's great to have a flip that you want to sell then for 250, which looks great to you as an investor. Oh, I'm selling this for 250. I should sell it like this. And years ago, that was a great head. I think in today's market, the people who can afford a $250,000 home actually get hit harder with that interest rate, right? So it actually hits their pocket harder, and then they're forced to think about, well, should I just stay renting because I'm not getting ahead by purchasing this $250,000 home? What I've learned from that is you need to then get with a savvy lender who I never used to believe in like an arm, but what I've learned over time is sometimes an arm even has its own place in the world, and so sometimes when a person has an arm, it brings the interest rate down, and it's not as impactful on that monthly payment. I think on one end where investors sometimes think it's great to have a cheaper home, it can also impact their bottom line. It might not sell as quick. So I think, knowing when to hold and when to fold, so to speak. There's a song about that. But I think that that's really important too, for them to know what they're walking into, and to be savvy enough to know what they need behind them monetarily to be able to have success.
What do you mean by an arm? Shed some light on that.
So an arm. Sorry, thank you. So a 7 year arm is a mortgage that is it has a 30-year amortization. However, if you don't pay it within 7 years, there'll be a huge balloon payment. Okay, you can refinance though, but it locks that rate in for 7 years, and so those rates right now are a bit lower than your everyday 30-year amortization loan. So we look at those now and say, hey, well, if I can get a lower interest rate even for 7 years, it buys me time that the interest rate could potentially go down, and I could refinance before that seventh year.
So what are the benefits versus drawbacks of doing something like that?
The benefits are is it's interest rate driven.
Yeah.
I just had one of my lenders was able to get one of my clients in the midst of most people getting a 6.5 to 7% interest rate. He got them a 4.9% interest rate, because they bought into that. There's so many things I'm not as familiar with, which I wish I was more familiar with on the lending side. So I speak out of tongues because it's not my area of expertise. But what I have learned is that he was able to do more with someone having a 7 year arm versus someone having a straight 30-year mortgage. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. For anyone who's listening and you just can't make the deal work, try looking into something like that. Obviously, you are on the clock once you get it 7 years later. Um, but hopefully within 7 years you can make something happen with it. And like Deborah said, you can always refinance later. So so yeah. But yeah, what you were saying, what separates successful investors from people who just kind of stay middle of pack, it, I think you're right. It does have to do with the market, but once again, if you're in the game long enough, eventually you'll get lucky on a deal or two, and that could just catapult you into something completely different. So, yeah, I agree with you there.
Well, I think luck is a good thing, and I also think that for the more savvy investor, knowing when to sell and knowing when to hold. So for those who bought maybe many years ago, you have to look at the market. That's when the market really is important, because if you can sell and you could sell at a higher rate, and that would allow you to diversify your investment even more so, then you have to know those things, right? I think it's important to have a good real estate partner along the way for that. I pride myself on doing comparable market analysis and making sure that the people I represent can make top dollar. And I'm honest and truthful with them on, now might not be the time because you might not get that investment back right this moment, right? So I think it's smart to know, it's a numbers game and it's a timing game when it comes to at least, on the housing investment side.
Yeah. No, once again, it just, like you're right. It goes back to having a good team and having intelligent people, talking in your ear and making sure that you're informed before you make the decision.